Start your engine!
Welcome to the Porch Beer Sports Podcast.
Left side!
Edit it, but
And we're live, baby.
and we're live. Week 5 of the NFL football season. Porch Beers
And that's
Podcast.
what's up.
And that's what's up.
And that's what's up. You know what's not what's up? It's week 5 and there was more injuries last week. That's not what's
Yeah,
up.
man. I mean, the
It
injuries.
didn't affect me, really.
Well, they're starting to
but-
affect me here, man. They really are. Like, and this is
Well-
actually our first week with like bye weeks. You know, it's like the Lions, Chargers, Eagles, there's no Titans. Yeah, and it's like it's actually starting to affect me with injuries and stuff. Like who I'm having to run right now
We're really gonna love that.
is just a lot of fantasy like pickup like just waiver wire fellas. But like injuries,
Right.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor, high ankle sprain. Like you don't want to hear that coming about Jonathan Taylor. That's such a like you never know with him. Like the last few years, he's had like something to do with his ankle, and whether he comes back or not, and like is the same is very up in the air.
Right. So I guess we're jumping in the first what am I trying to say here?
First category. Well, let's start with week 4 of the NFL. What'd you come out with a recap?
A weekly recap
Yeah,
for sure.
like what's your opinion on some sort of teams
I
or
think this week looked great. Good watching football this week. There's a lot more high scoring games. I felt like there was actual more football being played.
right? I agree.
I think teams are starting to settle down a little bit and get more game film on each other, which is good and things like that.
You know, it's kind of needed. I mean, well, it's just with teams like the Bucks, you know, like they're so 50-50 whether they're showing up to the field or not. Like the week prior of just getting stomped out by the Broncos, who haven't really shown anything, to this week handling the Eagles pretty well,
Right.
which I don't know like if really the Eagles are going to be like a team to super worry about come towards the end of the year. Like, of course you don't want to see them in the playoffs, and they are a good team, but like last year maybe being a Super Bowl contender to this year, I mean, I think it's two different stories.
Well, there's a couple teams like that. I mean, the Niners have high pressure on them, and then so do the Chiefs.
Right, and the
It's-
Chiefs, I mean, losing
It's
receiver.
Super Bowl or bust for those teams.
Yeah, and that's
I mean,
and losing
They made the NFC championship, especially the Niners. They made the NFC championship. It's this year's boomer bust.
Well,
Super
and
Bowl
with
for
the
sure.
Niners playing the Patriots, I mean, of course, I watched just about the entire game, and the Patriots are no good team by any means, but I mean, the Niners turned the ball over. They didn't look like crazy efficient. Granted, they had a decent lead the whole time, so I mean, that could let you play a little bit like lackadaisical football, but you don't want to get into that groove where like you're just kind of.
And Brandon Ayuk still not doing nothing.
Well, yeah, missing all of like training camp and the preseason prep for him, just waiting for a contract, like that really comes to bite you in the ass. I feel like you don't like, yeah, you can have
That's the
your
problem.
buddy or something be throwing you footballs like in your backyard or even on another field or something, but yeah, I mean, you're not getting used to catching Brock Purdy's corner of the end zone diving catches or toe drag catches. That stuff I think will all end up like it's obviously affecting him right now, and hopefully he can like play through and get back to his same pace, but it's not the same Brandon Ayuk that we expected, and of course the Niners expected with paying him that amount of money.
Right. No, absolutely, man. I don't think. I wonder Ayuk's ranking.
Like where it dropped
Ayuk
to.
is ranked 14th receiver right now for fantasy football.
I mean, and still that's not horrible. It's really
It's not horrible,
especially to have him
but
on your fantasy
it's been
team.
a slow start for a lot of people. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you have
Oh,
Brandon
yeah.
Ayuk on your fantasy team, don't sell him or anything. I would say it's only going to get better from here. But like having a top 20 wide receiver isn't just like some random, like some hopeful thing. Like it's a nice solid piece to have on the squad. But I also did notice, I mean, Jordan Mason looks good. They utilized George Kittle a lot. They didn't utilize Debo as much as I thought they would. They still want to get the ball to Juwan Jennings, which I think he proved himself coming in that he's like a dynamic playmaker, which is, I mean, good for the Niners, but kind of sucks for everybody else. Like even like he was getting end zone shots towards the end of the game. I was confused because his points were going up and they were up so big, and they were still trying to kill the Patriots. Man, I was like, just take it easy. Uh,
Saying the oh, my bad. I was wrong through for so week 5.
going into week
He's
5.
going to be the sixth. Going into week 5, he's 16th
Well, still
fantasy wide
16.
receiver
That's
right
yeah,
now.
14 to 16 isn't that big of a difference, but like just
But anyways, for the weekly recap, I think it looked like I said, it was fun to watch. There's some good football going on.
definitely better football.
Other than just the one Monday night game. I mean, that
Oh,
Dolphins
dude,
game
I
and
know.
the Titans game was horrible.
That I don't like when the NFL
It's
does the
horrible.
2 Monday night games. I just like one, especially they're playing simultaneously. Like it's nice when like back-to-back weeks there's kind of just been one Monday night game that you're more interested in. But like I don't know.
Right.
When the early slate, I don't
It
know,
worked out though.
right? But like the early slate of games on Sundays, I don't know if they do this on purpose. It has 7, 8 games or something like that, and then the afternoon slate has 3 maybe, and then Monday night has 2. Like, why don't we like? I don't know if there's something I'm missing or just I don't know of.
I think this is gonna be the last Monday night game, the double Monday night game.
That's good news.
But they are starting up. They'll wake up bright and early for a good London game, which
Oh,
I'm not a big fan of either. I feel like the players don't play the best
yeah, yeah. No, I agree.
in these games.
I'm not a huge fan of like the traveling overseas. I think it's cool, like especially last year when like it was even just a Patriots Colts game, which was abysmal to watch. Like there's a ton of fans, like everybody loves football across the nation, and like for Germany to have that many fans of just, I mean, it's funny to see like all the fans wearing like different jerseys and teams jerseys and
Yeah,
stuff, but it's cool to like it is nice to see. But I don't know how much the NFL players really enjoy it. Like what's this week? Is that the
you
Jets?
have the
Jets
Jets
Vikings?
and Jets. Is that the Vikings?
I believe
Yeah, it
so.
is the Vikings. Correct. Yep. Yep.
I mean,
That is
and dude,
correct.
the Vikings look good.
Undefeated Vikings. They still look good.
Who
I
was to
mean,
predict that? Like, and so
I
come week 7 or 8, I'm pretty
it was a
sure.
close game at the end of it, but whatever.
Well, the Packers with Jordan Love is a whole different ball team than without Jordan Love. Dude, that guy's impressive. He deserves the contract he got. And with Jordan Love coming back this week, I mean, and Christian Watson not playing, there's a lot of wide receivers that you could pick up to run in fantasy wise, I believe. But
Yeah.
about the Vikings, like I was gonna say, JJ McCarthy was supposed to start the season at quarterback for him. And he's supposed to come back at week 6 to 8 or something around then.
Oh, he ain't coming
But
back.
right, as a
Well, he's
team
coming
like the
back,
Vikings,
but
who's throwing the rock well and playing well, I don't think it makes sense for the Vikings to just take Sam Darnold out and then let JJ rock. I think you just sit JJ and watch Sam Darnold, like let him develop a little bit, especially seeing how well Sam Darnold is playing.
correct.
And like I think that's sort of the same thing with the Steelers. Like I know they lost to the Colts, but if Justin Fields is winning you ball games, you're not paying. Russell Wilson's making $1 million this year from the Steelers. You're not really worried about getting him into the ball game when Justin Fields out here balling.
He's getting paid by the Broncos, man.
Which I don't like. I don't know how you're
He's collecting checks by the Broncos, bro.
in one of my leagues. I'm going to sit Kyler Murray this weekend, and I'm going to play Justin Fields. Oh, that's
Bad Justin Fields. He's
like I know he's playing Dallas, which is kind of tough. But you guys just went down Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, I believe. And with
yeah, DeMarcus got posted on IR.
Justin Fields in the
Which is
backfield,
great.
it's kind of like 2 running backs, and he hasn't really looked horrible throwing the football, especially if they go out and get like a guy like Devontae Adams, who really wants to be traded.
Would be a good fit for him.
I think he
I know
actually,
they offered Ayuk a lot of money to come there, so I know that they're willing to pay some wide receiver to come
yeah,
there
no,
to
I
come
agree,
play. So
but I
I
think,
could definitely see him going to. Um, I definitely see him going to the Steelers. Yeah, for freaking 4 weeks. Justin Fields starting to increase in fantasy wise for sure.
he's number 7 right now at quarterback.
I believe so.
And at the beginning, I mean, Kyler Murray's number 9. And at the beginning of the season, I wouldn't have told you Justin Fields is going to be ranked higher than Kyler Murray in fantasy football. But also, Justin Fields just had
Yeah.
a 32-point game, which can definitely boost you, like with only these few weeks played. So,
The Cardinals game was weird last week. Kyler Murray only had 3 rushing yards.
Dude, are the Commanders for real? Not only just
So
scoring the football, but
strange.
The Cardinals have a good
It
offense.
was strange. I took them in my pick'ems. I did not pick the Commanders to win. It was a short week for them. They came in and then they played. Yeah, it was a short week for them. So and they were on the road on the West Coast,
Right.
and I did not expect them to come out, especially just blow the Cardinals out of the water.
Dude, Jane Daniels looks
I mean, the
good.
Cardinals defense is struggling a little bit,
Right. Yeah.
but they did get
The
the win.
Cardinals don't have a good defense whatsoever. But I thought that they were gonna like the Cardinals offense would match whatever the Commanders are putting up because they have a pretty good offense too, like high firepower. Like they were keeping up with the Bills week 1, like they're able to score touchdowns. But this week, I mean, the Commanders, couldn't even really name me a ton of players off the Commanders defense, and they just maybe good game plan something, but they shut the Cardinals down. James Conner had a good game fantasy wise though, which was nice. He kind of keep me in the helm
Right.
of things. Oh, oh, that's
Oh,
yeah, that could have been anything, and they're gonna
you got a
bark at it.
special guest, huh?
But moving to fantasy football instead of just a weekly recap about normal football, waiver pickup of the week, I believe, if he's there, Wandale Robinson. I know he says he's injured right now, but if Malik Neighbors goes down, Wandale Robinson is top 5 in the league in targets.
I did. Yep.
Yeah,
I was high on him on fantasy pickups or waiver pickups this week. He's on ops, definitely like a great flex start
yeah,
every
absolutely.
week, I believe,
Even if like coming,
especially with Nate.
yeah, if Neighbors doesn't
If
play,
Neighbors doesn't play, but they said that he he tweeted that night that after that game that he was fine.
yeah, it is tough though because it's real. I
He
mean,
does the protocol of everything, but I think he'll be playing this week.
yeah, with they played Thursday, they got a few extra days of rest. But that concussion protocol, you don't know. I mean, Trey McBride is still questionable, and he was out with concussion protocol last week.
Yeah, I think Trey McBride suited up today for practice.
Yeah, but like no contact, I believe. And then my other fantasy pickup, I mean, I don't know how like available he is, but Dontavian Wicks on the Packers. Pretty much any Packers wide receiver this week going in. I mean, even Romeo Dobbs, I believe, could be a solid start flex sort of guy, especially with like seeing our
Yeah,
first
that
bye
was my
weeks.
big thing too. Before the season started, I felt like that they don't have like a Packers wide receiver room. I feel like they don't have like a for sure number one,
Right.
like that, like a top tier, top 5 guy wide receiver. But I feel like their wide receiver room is pretty strong just because they have a decent amount of guys that they're just enough, you know.
Right. No, I agree. And like, is it Jaden Reed? I believe like he was slept on so
Yeah,
much after,
Junior
but
Reed.
like week 1,
He's another good.
after
I
week
don't know
1,
how.
he was probably drafted in most leagues, but maybe dropped because like after week one he had 33 fantasy points, and then with Malik Willis starting, I mean his targets and everything went down significantly. But I mean Malik Willis is more of a running quarterback than he is throwing quarterback. So I mean, respectively to the Packers, you got to win find games, find ways
Right.
to win ball games.
Yeah, Jaden Reed is 94% rostered, so I doubt he's out there anyway, but you never know
Yeah,
if he
well,
is.
I mean, Dontavian Wicks had a good week last week. He had 2 touchdowns, don't get me wrong, but I mean, 13 targets. 5 grabs is weird off of 13 targets, but 2 touchdowns. And he is sitting at 36% rostered in leagues. I mean, so if you can go snag a guy like that, especially on a week where, I got to sit Amonra, J.K. Dobbins, and Jalen Hurts, I got to deal with some stuff. So for me to be able to throw
Right.
him in should be a solid little, point
That's
scorer.
yeah. That's definitely. I mean, there's within wide receivers definitely um, would be, and even we talked about it last week. I think Darnell Mooney could be. He's in the sleeper app. He's still 65% rostered.
Yeah. No, and
I mean, he's averaging like I think like 7 targets a game. So
which
I
is
mean,
good.
which is he's a good flex option for you, especially coming with buys coming up and more injuries starting to happen.
Yeah. No, I
So,
do agree on the Darnell Mooney thing. I don't know if I would use him like how
and
you
I,
used him, but also, I mean,
that was it.
Garrett Wilson, I mean, is kind of just not being what everybody expected him to be, which I mean, you still got to give him a little bit of
Yeah,
time. He's still young. The connection's not there with
but
him and A-Rod.
yeah, which is you can tell Aaron Rodgers getting a little upset, but I think Garrett Wilson is just not. He's just not that guy that's going to control the game
Yeah, I agree. He's
like
not
your JJ,
right.
Jamar Chase and stuff.
Yeah,
He's not that. He's not that tier.
I
I
kind
think
of,
I think he's a top 20 wide receiver still.
yeah,
I think he finishes. I think you never know. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is such a good quarterback, but I think Garrett Wilson could still finish top 12,
yeah, and
top 15
yeah, I
this
agree.
year.
Yeah, have some big weeks, but I'm,
But yeah, I mean, as for wide receivers to pick up, Wicks was big for sure, and then on the sleeper app, you got Cortland Sutton is 70%, 70% rostered. I think he's definitely the number one.
oh, he's
Um,
clearly number one in
he
Denver.
start,
It's just,
he's starting to pick up more targets. I mean, the first week they played the Seahawks, and Seattle's proved that they do have a pretty solid defense. So, um, and they have somewhat the Broncos. I know Bo Nix is struggling and whatnot, but they have they got the Raiders and you got the Chargers, and then you got the Saints, the Cardinals, and then Baltimore, which aren't bad bad matchups for a wide receiver. It just having that rookie quarterback
right, and hopefully, I
I
mean,
think
Bo
can
Nix
make
can
an
get
upside.
going. Like, I didn't hate him coming out of the draft by any means, but also that running back Javonte Williams, yeah, I think he performed better last year than he is this year. Hopefully, they can find something on the ground game because that has a ton to do with how well you can move the ball through the air. Also,
Right,
so and like I think
absolutely.
Cortland Sutton is top 10 in targets, and I mean that's pretty big for me fantasy wise. Like, like if they have high targets,
Target wise,
someone I
yes,
want at least on my team or on
absolutely.
my bench. I think the Colts wide receivers like Josh Downs, if he's on the waiver wire, if Flacco plays, Josh Downs, I mean his value doubles.
Yeah, I don't think Flacco's gonna play. I think A Rod's gonna come in. I don't for them to like this week when yeah he got hurt running the ball, and then they pull him for a play and they come back and the first play call is for him to run the ball again.
Right. Yeah. I almost think, I mean, you
So
take
I
it.
mean that's just horrible coaching
Yeah, that
on the Colts
exactly. It's
behalf,
like they
I believe.
want him to get injured, especially after last year. I mean, it was a season ending shoulder injury in week 4. I think if you're the
Right.
Colts, you just let Richardson sit this and you watch Flacco, like let him go sling the rock. And if Flacco does well, like to me, there's no reason to not have Flacco start and have Anthony Richardson sit back there. Obviously, Richardson needs some help with touch on the football, not just rocketing everything in there, like not just throwing in a double coverage just because it's
Yeah, he's
70
playing his
yards
rookie year,
downfield
man.
and he can reach it. Like I like
As a sophomore.
yeah, I mean he's got. I mean every quarterback's got something to work on, but with a guy like Flacco, like in your backup, especially if Richardson's healthy, let Flacco start. Let him go out there and sling it, see what he can start doing. And if he gets injured, Richardson's ready to play. So, and that's
Oh,
I think a
absolutely.
better role for Richardson at the moment. Just, I mean, it's nice, especially if Jonathan Taylor's not back there. It's tougher for the Colts to move the football because of like he's like their sole running back, and with Richardson back there, it's like two running
Right.
backs. But Trey Sermon,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think Trey Sermon
Yeah.
is a
For running back pickups this week, my top running back pickups off the fantasy wire. I mean, it's hard to tell. They say that Taylor has a high ankle sprain, which is like a medium
yeah
ankle sprain. They came
mild.
out and
At
said
least it's not
what's
El Diablo.
mild, but those ankle sprains, man,
Well,
they're so
it's the
hard.
same
More than
thing.
likely, he's going to be out for if he doesn't play this week and he sits out this week. More likely, if you have Jonathan Taylor, I would be a little bit nervous because if he doesn't play this week, he might sit out the next couple weeks.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing Joe
Um,
Mixon has. He got injured week 1. He hasn't played since, and he's day to day this week.
right.
What I've noticed with high ankle sprains like that, it's either like you don't miss a game or you miss 3. It's like
Exactly.
you're kind of battling through the whole thing.
Exactly.
Another
Right.
fantasy running back. I don't know if since you're a Cowboys fan, but watching the Cowboys, I mean, Rico Dowdle is clearly like becoming the number one running back there.
Oh,
Like they're cutting
the one running
shares.
back
He's
for
getting
sure.
more snaps and attempts. And I
Yeah,
mean,
and it's he's getting more snaps per week,
yeah,
so it's progressing,
yeah.
which is it's something good to see. I mean,
Like I think last
it's
week,
hard. I'd say if you have like at least if you have a 12-person league and Rico Dowdle's out there and you're hurting, you're struggling, and you got buys coming up, I don't think he wouldn't be a bad option to pick up.
it's a tough matchup
Also,
playing the Steelers, but I don't think
yeah,
Brandon Cooks is going to play. I mean, obviously Dak and CD will have the
Brent,
connection and be able to move the ball through that way. But like, I mean,
yeah, Brandon Cooks said I saw a tweet that just a little bit earlier that he might not be out. He might be out for a couple of weeks
yeah.
for
So I
some
think,
illness or infection he got in his knee.
yeah, I think that ups Rico Dowdle's usage because you got to be able to move the football just a little bit more. He's good in the pass game, and I mean, other
Yeah,
than
he's got to. Dallas's problem is you got to at least try to get the run game started. It looks like they want to get a run game started, but and it's like we don't even like they act like they do, but and then they act like they just don't care about it.
they kind of stray away from it.
Which
I agree. And with only
yeah,
really having like uh CD and Jake Ferguson to throw the ball to is like yeah, that's like a good solid two. But if you can throw a run game
CD's
in
our
there,
leading rusher, bro.
what's that?
So CD's our leading rusher, bro.
Yeah, well that also
He's
doesn't
just
surprise me.
everything, man.
And
That's gonna happen. Anyways, continuing on the running back waiver pickups for the week.
another running back,
Kareem Hunt,
yeah,
I think. I mean, I don't know when Edwards comes back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't know. They said he can be back within this week, I believe. And he wasn't. He was dealing with some
PTSD.
PTSD issues. So he wasn't hurt. Now, I mean, it was still he did fumble the ball as like first carry of the game. So
Kareem Hunt did.
I mean, no, Steele did.
Oh, Steele, yeah,
Um,
yeah. And then
yeah.
they kind of just
So
gave the
and
role to
then
Kareem
they
Hunt.
and then just gave the role to Kareem Hunt, and then he did great. I think he did good. So I mean, he's definitely someone to I would if he's out there and like I said, he's in the sleeper app. He's 70% rostered, which I mean
It probably jumped
he
up this
shouldn't
week.
be
Yeah.
he shouldn't be on waivers. In my opinion, I think if he's out there, I would pick him up for sure. I think until at least for the next couple weeks, I believe that Kareem Hunt will be the running back. And with Rashid Rice going out this last week, I think they're going to have to change up a little bit.
Oh yeah. Hopefully, I
And
mean Travis
I
Kelsey.
mean, they've never really been like super running back dependent. I know that they were starting to move that way with Pacheco, but that's just because Pacheco. I mean,
He's a
you got to get that guy
Yeah,
the
he's a
ball.
damn good running
He's a
back. Yeah,
he's a stud, man.
the only thing that kind of freaks me out
And
with
running like he's pissed off at the ground,
yeah,
dude.
he just stomps on it. The only thing that freaks me
So
out
trained
about
for
the
one.
Kareem Hunt thing is like definitely like if he's out there, pick him up for sure. But the Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like being in the offense for a while and everything, and he wasn't injured. Like he's out because of mental illness. You know, he should come back 100% unless it's really like messing with his head. But I don't know
Absolutely.
how much snaps he's going to take, and it would make sense for him to like start splitting snaps with Kareem Hunt for when he comes back. But again, I mean, Kareem Hunt's a damn good running back too. Knows the offense because he was on the team. So I mean, I think the Chiefs running back room will be fixed a little bit, but they're gonna have to rely on those two fellas to move the football like on the ground,
Right.
especially because
Yeah, so
Rashee Rice was like a lot of people drafted him late in the draft. He was some big come up, really like top five most wide receiver
I think
categories.
I was the only reason I didn't pick him up. I was just scared. I mean, I
Right.
don't know how the guy was playing football.
I know, and not getting suspended. I guess. I
I
mean,
mean,
karma comes at you, brother. Like that is.
which is gonna be weird. I don't know how like they'll affect that with like if he does go on IR and he. I mean, they haven't said
So
that
if
he
you're
has towards ACL. But I mean, any rumors that it's your ACL is it's just not good. So, but I don't know how that works. I don't
so if
know
you're on the
if
IR,
they'll start his
if you're on the
suspension
IR,
after.
yeah, so your IR games, whatever games you're on the IR, it doesn't count towards your suspended games. So So
So
leave
okay,
him
that
off
makes
the
sense.
IR and then suspend him and get that said and done out of the way.
Right. So I mean, people, if you have like a dynasty league or something or keep 'em league, it would be you might not see or Rashid Rice until it could be next year
Yeah,
at this time.
this
I
time
mean, I
next
don't
year.
know.
Yeah, I mean ACLs
This
are
time
tough to
next year,
come back, man.
absolutely,
Come back from. It's very rare that you see a
exactly.
player tear their ACL, especially in that fashion.
Well,
Like it. I mean,
yeah,
watching
and
that
then
hit
he's
was
got to deal with
cringy.
the suspension,
Yeah,
and that's even if he gets to play football.
right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
who knows
he's
what
got
goes
some.
on with that.
He's got some things stacking up on him, man.
Yeah, I mean, you almost feel bad for
But
the guy,
anyways,
but not really.
right, and I'm just kind of we're going down the line of running backs that I think Justice Hill.
Justice Hill has good
Um,
usage. See, the only problem with me is, I mean, Justice Hill had a good week last week, but just with Lamar and Derrick Henry, dude, they can suck the fantasy points right out of the football game.
oh,
Zay
absolutely.
Flowers is a pretty good wide receiver, but him going back to back having dud weeks, but it's just because, I mean, why give anybody else the football other than Lamar or Derrick Henry when they're able to break off chunks like that every single play? I mean, did you watch the offense? I mean, the Bills don't know where the ball's at. And by the time you do, I mean Derrick Henry ran faster than Xavier Worthy on his long touchdown. Like
I did see that.
there's
21 miles an
there's
hour.
not much you can do. But Justice Hill, when he gets usage, yes, is a very good pickup. And I think if you need a stream start, like immediate, in trouble sort of thing, Justice Hill will pick you up points.
Absolutely, and I think they have. It's just a good offense. I mean, and for running back, um, streamer running back, they play the Bengals and the Commanders and the Bucks, which have all kind of struggled on their run defense a little bit. So it wouldn't be a bad pickup because I mean, dang, that's crazy. The Ravens buys not until week 14.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams
Oh,
that have week 14 buys, which is it can definitely affect you if that's well. I guess week 14 is usually not fantasy playoffs yet, which is nice.
right,
But yeah, I think
right.
Justice Hill is a good pickup. Uh, the
Yeah, you got to pay attention. I think Bigsby is another good pickup.
Yeah, he had like 7 for 90 last week.
He yeah, he clearly he I think he looked a little bit better than ETN last week. I think that they're trying to give him the ball a little bit more. And I mean,
Yeah,
he only had seven rushing attempts, which I mean, my scary thing is if you have ETN is you might want to think about giving him putting a trade out there for him.
yeah. I think you
I
sell ETN while you can. I don't.
you can. I think they are starting. I think there's so much going on in Jacksonville that they're going to have to start switching things up. And I think Tank's Bigsby. I don't think ETN's not going to be worth anything. Don't get me wrong. I think he's still going to get touches, but I think it's become more of a split backfield. You can clearly tell they like Tank Bigsby a lot.
Yeah, it's just ETN's
So
usage
and
out of like the backfield for receiving is higher than a lot of running backs. So of course he'll always be touching the field and touching the football. But that I mean
well,
Tank
absolutely.
Bigsby does look good when he's got the ball in his hands. That's a fact.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean he rushed for 90 yards this last week, which was it's pretty great for RB2
yeah,
on a
yeah,
team.
and the Jags with Evan Ingram hopefully coming back and Brian Thomas looking like more of a standout than really anybody thought he was going to be. Like the Jags should like start
Right.
moving the ball through the air a little bit more. And if you're just gonna have a running back, like a true running back, run the football, they might lean more towards Bigsby. It is hard to tell because like unless you're part of the team, you really don't know. But just from watching, Bigsby's clearly the better runner, like out of the backfield.
Yeah,
It's
he is. He's a little bit more explosive, but I mean that's just the game in the NFL now and the running back room. I mean,
Yeah, I get you. Like a lot of teams just move
it's
on.
a young man's game back there,
Yeah, they just move on faster. It's
which
like the Rashad White and Bucky Irving. I mean, like
I
so
would say that was my next point right there.
the
That's another big. Like if Bucky Irving is for some reason on your waiver wire, you need to pick him up.
yeah, and it's
That would be like my number one guy going right now. If I don't think Bucky Irvin by this week 5 should be on the waiver wire, but if he is, he's my number one pickup.
yeah.
You need to pick him up.
And it's like clearly
He,
just kind of it's like a split backfield in Tampa, Like Rashad White was getting usage, like some usage too. He's just better out of like the receiving end. But I mean, watching that game, maybe I'm more of a Rashad White fan. But watching the game, those handoffs and those little pitches that work as outside zone runs that they're giving Bucky Irving, I'm watching it and I'm like, you're gonna tell me Rashad White can't do what he's doing right now? Like, I don't know.
There's it's this weird stuff, man. Some teams see it. I don't know.
But yeah,
It is
like they have to know better than what I do. But just as a fan watching it,
right.
like down at the goal line with Rashad White on my fantasy team, I'd love for you to give him a shot with one of these outside zone pitches and let him waltz into the end zone instead of Bucky Irving. But I get your chances are probably higher with Bucky Irving the way he runs the football.
Right, and I think he is on that topic. I mean, Rashad Wright. I think you might want to think about. And I swear, man, Rashad Wright was in the same boat last year, where people at the beginning of the year were just like, he probably you later, but the offense was off to a little bit of a slower start. But he was like kind of the sell low right now, or I mean sell high,
Well, you can.
and make a trade while you can. And I think you should probably try to trade Rashad White right now. I don't think they'll. That's a hard one because I don't think they'll completely come away. Like you said, he's just a great passing out of the backfield.
Right. I do believe he'll always have some usage for sure. But I mean, also Rashad White
Yeah,
was like running back number 4 last year. Like the guy isn't washed. The
yeah.
guy isn't like bad or anything,
No, he's young,
and he just
man.
had some injuries like to go through, like a groin injury or a hamstring injury or something. And like with a running back like Bucky
Right.
Irvin, you can give more touches and everything. But I don't know, I hope for Rashad White to like come back, whether that's me being fantasy team biased or what. But I mean, I do see a clear upside of Rashad White.
I, yeah. I mean, definitely. But like I said, if Bucky Irvin's out there, you got to pick him up.
Yeah, I agree. Tight end wise on the waiver wire, I don't know, like Tucker Kraft from the Packers. I think that
He definitely, yeah, he's definitely my number one pickup for tight
yeah,
ends right
I
now.
think that Packers team like through the air wise really like jumps up a few levels with Jordan Love at the backfield, like back at the helm.
I would say, yeah. I mean, he's clearly. I mean, between him and who's their other tight end? Oh gosh, darn it.
the
But anyways, he's definitely their number one tight end right now. I mean, and he's within sleeper app. He's only 45% rostered,
yeah,
and I know a lot of people are struggling. I mean, Mark Andrews put up double zeros in the last 2 weeks, which is
yeah.
crazy.
Kyle Pitts gave me a
Now
0 ball this last week.
Kyle Pitts and I mean, it's just been a weird year for tight ends, but I think until the Falcons like offensive line can get healthy again, because coming in this year had a great offensive line, but Kyle Pitts he's not like a great blocking tight end. So I mean,
Yeah, when he's
and then
in.
I think until they can get healthy, I think Kyle Pitts is I don't think his value is going to be much
Well,
until they're completely
yeah, and
healthy.
I don't know if you watched a ton of that Falcons game. It's a lot of like the effort. I don't know if it's there for Kyle Pitts. I don't know if he's missing something, but there was a few routes where I mean he's not turning around before the ball's there. It almost looks like he's jogging on an out route or a quick slant or something. Which
I did watch in film. You can definitely tell that for
you
sure.
could get into your own head about things like that about not getting the football. But I mean, you got to play football. I mean, him coming out of college was supposed to be like the next big thing at a tight end. You know, more of a receiving tight end than
I mean, he
anything.
put up what? Yeah, he balled out his first year, absolutely, but he hasn't lived it up since, and I just don't know if he ever will. Like I said, I think he did have one decent game this year.
Yeah, I think it was week one. I mean, he has a touchdown,
He,
which not a lot of tight ends
he had a
do.
touchdown,
But even with the
right?
touchdown in week
Um,
one, he had 11 total fantasy points. Like he was 3 for 3
right.
for 26 yards in a tud. Which still, I mean, for that being the tight end right now, that's a big game. I mean, like other Travis Kelsey had a decent game this last week, but other than that, you're not really finding those big games at the tight end position. And so,
Which is nice. We have Kyle Pitts. I mean, you're not the only guy struggling in the league with tight ends,
right.
which is
But like I think like I have Kyle Pitts, but I'm almost on the like side of if I can trade him, I'll trade him. But if not, like I'm not against dropping him for people like I mean, Colby Parkinson's another good waiver wire tight end. Conklin's on a lot of them, a lot of waiver wires.
Okay.
They just get
The Muth.
Muth is a big one, as a good one. Zach Ertz is always a reliable guy. One second.
Zach Ertz, he was always reliable for sure. But no, I absolutely agree. I think Tucker Kraft is your number one pickup this week for the tight end position. Like I said, he's only in the sleeper apps. He's only 45% rostered, which clearly, I mean, he's rostered in half the leagues, so he's probably out there. But
Sorry, I
uh,
think the dogs unplugged my computer, but we're good. Sorry, little interruption.
dog,
Kate Otten, I don't hate. I'm
um,
pretty sure his targets are higher than a lot of tight ends. I mean, in week 3, 8 targets. Week 4, 9 targets. Not a ton of yards, but I mean, I've been winning in fantasy with below 5 points from my tight end. So really, if anything, that can get you up in that like 10-point range or a little above.
yeah, I mean, what's your opinion though? Like, one of the leagues I'm in, Mark Andrews is sitting on the waiver wire. I mean,
Well, it's tough because, like I was
I
saying,
guess, I mean, if he puts up a double zero back to back,
it's tough
that's pretty rough.
because when do you start him? When do you have the confidence to start him, other than just streaming a tight end
Exactly.
or something? But like with Mark Andrews, I think eventually he'll have a game where he has almost 10 receptions and some yards, maybe a touchdown. But it's not going to be every week. I mean, the way that offense moves with Derrick Henry added is significantly different. Like they're just very
Right.
run
And the
heavy.
best thing for them, too, is that Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews are great blocking tight
Yeah,
ends.
and I mean, I don't think you
And that's
start.
clearly what they want to
I
do.
don't think you run either
But,
Ravens
I
tight
mean,
ends.
say you pick up Kraft or Firemuth or Otten, are you starting him over Mark Andrews?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe so.
Yeah.
I think you start Kraft.
Or you give it one more week, and if he puts up another zero, then he's going on the waiver
Well,
wire.
it's tough. It depends on what your team's looking like right now. Like if you're 0-4, like 1-3, I don't really think you have much room for error. Like I get it's still earlier in the
Absolutely.
season, but you got to make changes. You got to have points at positions, and you can't have a probability for a 0-point ball game. I think if you go picking up tight ends from the waiver wire like Kraft, Otten, Parkinson, I think they're gonna have points regardless. Just like the usage in the offense, especially with the Rams, they don't have a whole lot of like passing threats right now. They got like a lot of younger fellas. I do like some of the Rams tight
Right.
ends coming off the waiver wire. I mean, not tight ends, wide receivers, but just for flex
And Parkinson's,
starts.
it is another. He's in sleeper app. He's 30% rostered. So I mean, he's more than likely he's one of those guys that if you need a pickup, I would probably pick him up. I mean, they have a Green Bay this week and they got a bye next week. But other than that, for their schedule for at least tight ends, I mean that offense. I mean, the only problem is it's set up. I mean, Kyron Williams is just completely that the whole
Dude, he has
offense is Kyron Williams. I mean,
92% of the snaps. I mean,
that guy's gonna die.
no, he's not,
I
dude.
mean, they got to do.
He's he's
He's got to do
he's
something.
keeping me
But I
in
mean,
fantasy leagues.
anytime you see struggling offenses like that, I mean, it's a little different because Matthew Stafford's a veteran and he can control the offense a lot better on the field than those young quarterbacks. But when the team's beat up like that, like I said, the offensive line, I mean, they're just struggling right now. So I mean, those quick dump offs dude, and
Just a
I
safety
think a
blanket,
lot
man.
of
Yeah.
it's a safety blanket is always a good, your tight end, and I think Parkinson, at least for a little bit, I think until they can. Once, I mean, I don't know how long Cooper's going to be out. That's another little trippy
Yeah,
issue,
well,
and then I think they just
it's
then Puka that they just like they don't are not expecting Puka back till like a week 9 maybe now.
yeah, I know, and Cooper
So
Cup's
I mean
taking a
they're
hit too. Like it's hard to tell with all these injuries and stuff like what the actual report is, but like Cooper Cup might not come back for 3 or 4 more weeks. And I mean, there's a lot of people that can't afford it. I mean, if you're 0-4 right now, you kind of got to see if somebody up top of the league will be willing to hold on to a Cooper Cup and trade him for some usage players. In my opinion, like fill
right.
some spots in your roster to get rid of a guy like Cooper Cup in hopes you can make up for like your 0-4 start. Like get rid of your suit if you can get rid of him for 2 solid dudes that'll put up numbers on your lineup every week. I think it's worth it.
Okay. Anyways, yeah. So, what about if let's say if you have oh, it's completely brain fart. Um, if you have Kyle Pitts, are you starting?
Well, I'm
Are you
actually
starting these? Are you starting these guys over? Are you starting a Tucker Craft? Are you starting a Firemuth? I mean, are you starting Parkinson? I think personally for me, I think you are. I like I said, I know in these offenses within the Rams that I don't know he'll always have like a blow up game. I mean Parkinson hasn't had a huge fantasy week, but he as a tight end position you don't need that. I mean he's let's see here the biggest week he's had would be week one of 8 points, but he's averaging at least 6 points, which is better than
right,
zero.
right,
I mean,
and to
points
me that
really
sketches
could change everything.
the thing that sketches me out about like a Kyle Pitts or a Mark Andrews is when a team's winning football games and they're winning football games with their tight end not catching the ball. Like that just doesn't look good. It's something you probably don't want on your roster. Like I'm sitting Kyle Pitts this week, which I mean it very well could come back to bite me in the ass because he's very talented. But I'm sitting him for Kraft, and then in my other league where I have Kyle Pitts, I ended up just getting him out of trades, like trading away other stuff, and ended up with Kyle Pitts. I'm hoping Ingram comes back so I can play Evan Ingram. But even if he doesn't, Kyle Pitts is going to stay on my bench, and I will pick up a tight end. I don't have a lot of like roster like power right now with all my bye weeks and stuff, and like the fill-ins that I might have to make. So I kind of have to wait till a game time decision if Evan Ingram's going to play. But I'm not going to play Kyle Pitts, especially because they play
Absolutely,
Thursday night.
absolutely.
So I think that's more of a stressful thing to put yourself through, other than just like streaming somebody off the tight
I
end
hate.
waiver.
I don't know why I get this. I hate playing people on Thursday night, dude.
It's tough.
I don't know. It's with me. I feel like Thursday night. I mean, I guess it's within every game, but I feel like Thursday night's such a like a hit or miss, man.
I think
Excuse me.
I think it's such different than Sunday, but it's like Sunday afternoon ball games. Like
It's a short week, man. I
and
get
I
it.
mean, granted, it is. I mean, primetime games. I mean, they have to have some sort of different feeling than a Sunday afternoon game or a Sunday morning game. So, and then
Right. All right. Let's do our last waiver, or well, I guess we have two more, but quarterback waiver pickups for this week.
uh,
Like we kind of talked about early, I think Justin Fields is probably out there.
yeah, I mean, and
He's
ESPN,
60% rostered in leagues, so I mean, he definitely could be rostered in your league. Like anything though with fantasy football, a quarterback that can scramble and run is always
yeah, especially if you're
a
in a
benefit.
4 point touchdown like passing, those scrambling quarterbacks mean just a little bit more. I think
Right.
whether Flacco or Richardson plays, I think that's a good stream. I mean, Richardson just high ceiling, high floor. Like you have a chance for 30, but you have a chance for 9, which kind of sucks. But if you're streaming one for a week and you have a quarterback to fall on the following week, like my
I don't know, dude. I don't know if I'm starting Richardson, man.
well, I mean, I'm
I
just
think I'm
saying.
comfortable leaving him on the waiver.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you could pick him up off the waiver, I don't think he's a terrible decision. But would you start Deshaun Watson over Anthony Richardson? And see, and
I mean
surprisingly, a
that
lot of like Sam Darnold is 52% rostered in ESPN, which is like if he's there like and you need a streaming quarterback for the week, Sam Darnold's probably
I
a
just
safe bet. I think if Joe
I
Flacco
picked him up
plays,
this week.
Kirk Cousins is scary. I would stay away from a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Uh, I just don't think that.
Yeah, I would stay with. I just don't. Honestly, I'd stay away until they could really. There's just like I said earlier. There's a lot going on right now in Jacksonville. I think there's a little bit more stress. I mean, you're losing games. You're now 0-4. I mean, it's never a good look. Everything in the locker room might start falling apart. I mean, clearly, um, their head coaches came out and said he's not worried about like losing his job and things like
Yeah,
that.
that guy's a savage. But like Matt,
Yeah, I mean, I get it,
but and the
but
offense just like in general does not look good. But like matchup wise, Caleb Williams is probably on your waiver wire. I know how terrible that sounds, but they play the Panthers. So I mean, Panthers look a little bit better with Andy Dalton, but it's still the
right.
Panthers. So I don't hate Caleb Williams start this week. I was gonna rock with them until I found Justin Fields on the waiver wire. So I don't hate a pickup like
I mean, the Bears have really one of the most easy schedules against defenses and quarterbacks. But I mean, it doesn't help that he's getting pressured like 85%
Right.
of his
And
snaps
just
a
sometimes,
game.
dude, the pocket presence is not there. He's scrambling too early or too late. Like, I mean, obviously he's a rookie quarterback and he doesn't have much to learn off of. I don't even know who their backup is. It might be, is it that Bagley dude? I'm not sure. But I mean, there's a big learning curve with Caleb Williams, but also he brings that like athleticism and he can run for touchdowns. He can run for some yards to add to your fantasy score. So I mean, again, hate that pickup. But I mean, some guarantees like
Um,
if Geno Smith is out there, Geno Smith has been slinging the rock.
I think Geno Smith is 55% rostered in leagues, and I'd be comfortable. They haven't had the easiest schedule with defenses, and he's been putting up numbers, man.
Dude,
I
and
mean,
he has
the
three
numbers that
he has three
he's
solid
put up,
receivers.
I'd be absolutely, and I'd be comfortable playing Geno Smith every week.
Yeah, no.
If you
Yeah.
needed a quarterback,
Yeah.
you have buys coming up. I would absolutely be. I'd be probably more comfortable playing him than right now. I'd be more comfortable playing him than Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And
More
like I said, he's probably available in any of your leagues right now.
yeah, I actually
Like I
think.
said, he's like 50%. Uh,
And he's the number 8
he's fifty
quarterback.
percent
He's a top
available.
10 quarterback. I mean, he hasn't
Yeah,
had
and he has been for the last couple of weeks. I think he's finished. Let's see here.
I mean, he's thrown for over.
He's finished within the top 10 quarterbacks. So week one, he was QB7. Had a little. They played the Dolphins, and he didn't have the best game, but I think they didn't
Well,
really need to throw the ball that
he
much.
threw 2 interceptions, which I mean takes away points. Don't get me wrong, but he still almost threw for 300 yards and a
Absolutely.
tutty. He threw for almost 400
Yeah.
yards against the Lions. Like the guy's got
And
weapons.
yeah, and
He's been in the league for a
and
minute,
he's
and
QB
if I'm the
QB8
Seahawks, I'm
last
letting him
week.
sling the rock. I mean, with
Absolutely.
K9 coming back, I mean, I like K9 too, but like he's a little skeptical, like injury wise. But him and Charbonnet are both good receiving running backs. So,
Dude, K9 looked so good, and he
dude,
clearly is the number one. Like
he looked good.
Charbonnet, don't get me wrong, he doesn't look horrible. I think he looks good. Like he's a good football player, absolutely. But you can just tell K9 is he's just a better like he's a better running back in the backfield, and he looked fantastic. I mean, the oblique injury is a little concerning. I have K9 on a league of mine, and it was a little scary. I did start him, and luckily I did because the dude balled out for 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But an oblique injury is one of those injuries, man. It's just scary.
Well, and K9's always dealing with injuries. Other than that, he's a very
He
explosive running back.
is.
He's very talented. It's just dealing with injuries and stuff. I know a lot of running backs this year are dealing with that, but K9, it seems mostly every year is dealing with some sort of injuries. And I mean, I
Yeah.
don't pray on anybody's downfall. I hope everybody can stay away from injuries. But if he can, then he's definitely the best back there. But Charbonnet's not a bad replacement by any means.
Oh, absolutely not. Definitely not.
And then
Um,
go ahead.
to get on. So yeah, so just covering like QB. So yeah, definitely like my number one pickup for the week would be probably Geno Smith. I wouldn't mind picking up. I wouldn't mind um, picking up. I wouldn't mind picking up Sam Darnold. He's been. You're just. I feel like everyone's the same. They just keep waiting for him to. I mean, he hasn't. He's made a couple like Sam Darnold moves
Right.
last week. He got lucky a couple times, but I mean, until now, I would be comfortable starting. I would be comfortable starting him until, or at least just put him on your bench until he's proven not to. But I don't see it happening. I mean, they have a decent schedule coming up. I mean, he's been and another one. He's been. I don't know what his ranking right now for fantasy quarterback wise is, but I mean he's finished within the top 10 quarterbacks again for 3 weeks in a row now.
Sam Darnold is number
Which
8 quarterback. What?
number 8, yeah.
I mean, yeah, no,
So
I don't disagree. I think if Justin Fields is there,
I
he's a good waiver wire pickup to play this week, probably
yeah.
even against the Cowboys, just because like the injuries going on with the Cowboys, and it'll probably be some sort of a high scoring game. So you just hope he can stay away from the turnovers. But I don't hate playing him. Geno Smith and Sam Darnold are probably my top 3 picks at quarterback this week. streaming one at least.
Absolutely.
And then defense wise, if you were wrapped up with quarterbacks, unless you had another quarterback to chirp
No,
in.
man, I don't think there's many other quarterbacks in the league that I think most of them are already rostered. And
Yeah, just waiver wire
I just
wise.
it's so waiver wire. It just kind of blows my mind. Another one for quarterbacks. I don't even know why I didn't even think about this. I had him on my notes. It's Baker Mayfield, man.
Oh, dude, if he's not rostered, you
The
pick him up,
dude.
and you could start him week to week.
You have to absolutely yeah, man, I messed up. I think, yeah, I mean, he's the definitely most comfortable quarterback that you need to be picking up right
Yeah,
now
and
for
just
sure.
I mean the way he is like moving the ball on for most games. I know like I said they're 50-50 on whether they show up. The Broncos have a tough defense. I'll give them that. But like for the most part,
Yeah,
Baker's
clearly the
slinging the
Broncos have a good defense.
like he's slinging the rock well. Him and Godwin have a good connection. Him and Mike Evans go for 2 touchdowns sometimes. And I don't know, Baker. I've always been big on Baker. Never to give up on Baker. I mean, Carolina is always a toxic like situation for most quarterbacks, so you can't blame him for that. But for him to go to the Rams, win a game for him, coming in the last 2 minutes without being there was there for less than a week, maybe like 3 or 4 days. I mean, Baker's got it in him. He's a dog, always has been, and I love the way he plays football.
Yeah,
So, and I think he fits the Bucks well, just like the personality of the team.
absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, let's jump into defenses.
Defense
I
wise, I'll
mean,
tell you
I'm a big
anybody
believer
that plays the Dolphins. I'm even going to start the Patriots defense this week. That Dolphins team looks so
yeah,
bad.
on the trending wire right now through the sleeper app. The Patriots defense is on there. Yeah, the Dolphins, man, um, they need to figure something out. I mean, it's sad. I've debated on. I think a lot of people have debated on benching Tyreek. I benched him last week, and he didn't start,
Well, and there's just
which is
something.
absolutely insane.
There's just something going on with the offense. I mean, Huntley, he's never thrown for 200 yards in his career. Tyreek Hill it was dropped a little swing pattern. Like there's just something going on with the offense where the confidence probably isn't there. You can't blame them. Like it just sucks going from Tua and
Yeah,
winning
well, and
games.
then I mean, and the horrible part about that, man, even H-hand is having just every single
Well, it's tough to put up fantasy
everything.
wise when you don't move the ball as like a normal offense.
Right, exactly. And then coming into that offense, it's not just an offense that you can really walk onto, man. There's so much moving parts to that
Right.
offense, and it's so fast. Everyone on that field is so fast. I mean, Tyreek Hill could be. I mean, he could be the third fastest player on that field. I mean, Waddle.
A chain.
I mean, Waddle's fat. I mean, Achane ridiculously got the wheels, man. But
I mean, even when Mostert
um,
comes back, I think their backup running back like Ivory or I forget that guy's name, but he's fast as hell too. I mean, they clearly base their offense around speed. Mike McDaniel's put something
yeah,
like good together
absolutely.
for sure. But when Tua's not there, which I don't really even think Tua's like a fantastic quarterback, but he obviously does
I
well
agree.
in that offense, and it's hard to find a
It's just
replacement.
the getting. I think. I mean, Huntley maybe could be good. It's just getting the timing down with that offense. There's, like I said, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's just a quick offense. But yeah, I think the Patriots defense is a good start this week. Mike McDaniel did come out and said they're going to have to completely rechange that offense, and so I
Yeah,
don't know.
and
And
if there is an upside to the
um,
Patriots, we have a decent defense. We can't move the football really like very well, but hopefully we can just keep the defense off the field for a while where they can catch their breath and play well against the Dolphins. Um,
absolutely, my number one pickup for this week, and I think I had the best luck on picking them up, and I more than likely they're probably not rostered in most leagues. Would be the Denver Broncos defense.
yeah, I did see that. I was kind
Um,
of looking at that too.
they are they have clearly they're a great defense. I mean, PS2 is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
PS2 takes the number one receiver out of games. I mean,
Every single
holding the Bucks to
every
nothing,
single
holding the
week.
Jets to nothing. Like, it's just the turnovers. I don't know. I mean, they'll come and go like as just an NFL defense, but just yardage wise and not letting up a ton of like offensive movement, the Broncos are a pretty good bet.
Absolutely, yeah, and they're in the sleeper app. They're available in 55% of leagues.
Weirdly enough,
And I think
I'm staring at my
what's
waiver
that?
wire right now, and the 49ers defense is here, and I know they play the Cardinals. But I mean, the Niners defense. I mean, I think they're 90-something% rostered. Sorry, this is more of a personal thing, but I mean, I might run with the Niners, but that's kind of a surprising thing
That's
to
a good
see.
defense. That's a good defenses to have, though. I mean, I'm a big fan on like streaming defenses week to week. But I think, I mean,
If you have a solid one
I
to have a backup on,
you have a solid one. But I mean, the Broncos defense, if they can stay healthy and they can continue to put up points, I mean, the less. I mean, I know everyone's fantasy points are different for defenses, but I mean, the lowest they put up is 9 points.
yeah, and that's
And
pretty
their
good.
weeks, their bye weeks not till week
Right.
14.
And that's a good defense just to have in
So
case you don't want to use a waiver move or something just to pick up a defense. The Broncos can be a good bet just about
exactly.
against almost everybody, I would say. I mean, and then I don't hate the Commanders. Like the Commanders defense, obviously last week against the Cardinals. I mean, they showed out. I don't know how good they are as a whole just from 1 week, but them playing the Browns it's just the Browns curse, bro. I mean, I don't know how much they can do. Deshaun Watson isn't what he used to be, doesn't deserve all that money. I mean, hopefully they can get something cooking. I hate to hate on anybody, but uh, if you want to bet against somebody, I would always bet against the Browns.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. They're struggling. They're another team that's struggling. Another good defense, I think the pickup would be, and they're not rostered by another 50% roster team would be the Seattle Seahawks.
Seahawks have a solid defense. They just have middle
They
of
have
the
a solid
pack
defense,
middle of the pack everything. I feel. I mean, nothing that really stands out a ton, but I mean they can get you turnovers. They
right?
have good DBs.
Absolutely.
They have a good defensive line. Yeah, I agree. I don't hate that pickup whatsoever either. I mean, I'd stay away from the Falcons that I'm looking at just because the Bucks have potential to like score a lot of fucking points.
They do absolutely, and I mean it's a divisional game. It's going to be a tough game, um, and like previous years, like if you look up the points they've scored, where are they playing this game? Is it in Atlanta?
Um,
Is it in the Dome?
yeah, it's in Atlanta.
So I mean, in the last couple of years, it's they've been hit and miss. It could be. I mean, I just hope it's a good Thursday night football game.
Right, me
I
too. I
mean,
just want to see
and
a good ball game, really.
last week, luckily we took the dub, but I was doing some stuff, so I didn't get to watch most of it. But
It's still kind of
it
ugly.
wasn't good football. Like,
Still,
yeah, it wasn't good football like most Thursday night football games
yeah,
have been.
yeah.
I get it; it's a short week, but
Hard to prepare. I get you. Yeah, hopefully,
yeah,
and teams
um,
genuinely just play better in domes. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the weather controlled. I mean, it's everything. Yeah,
easier to kick, easier to
I mean,
throw.
oh, absolutely. So, I mean, I think it could be a shootout. I'm hopefully it is a shootout.
Let's get
Um,
um
but anyways, let's um, speaking of that game, we kind of went didn't go over injuries very much. So speaking of the game, so Bijan didn't practice. I don't know if he did practice today, but he did. He was injured with a hamstring injury, I believe. Um, so that's something to pay attention to. He should be fine. I believe that he is going to come back and he'll be okay. But um,
yeah, and I don't think Bijan
he's not even
has been.
he's not even professional anymore. Let's see.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's fine.
I don't think Bijan
So he was struggling with the hamstring, but he is off
he's gonna play.
the. Oh, he's going to play. Yeah,
It's kind of tough
absolutely.
because
Um,
I don't think Bijan's put up the numbers most people have expected. But if he doesn't, I don't hate an Algier pickup off the waiver wire either if nobody has him or a start. But I mean, clearly you never bench a player like Bijan. I mean, start your studs. I mean,
yeah,
for the most part. I
absolutely.
mean, matchup
Which
wise,
is crazy though, dude. Is uh speaking on him, freaking who would have thought, dude? Devin Singletary has more fantasy points and is a better fantasy running back than
then
Bijan
dude,
Robinson
a
this
lot
year.
of people, a lot, probably Brees Hall too. I'm
I
willing
believe
to bet
Bijan Robinson is
he's 20th. No
ranked
wait,
20th. Yeah, 20th in running backs as this year, which is crazy, man. There's a lot of things that people I don't think realized was going to happen.
yeah, it,
Um, and we kind of brushed over Jonathan Taylor. Like I said, it's the high ankle sprain, which is it just can be scary, man. Um, but Sermon, if Jonathan doesn't play, Sermon's their only other running back. He's the only other guy that's gotten touches other than Jonathan Taylor this year.
Right. So
So
that's where it pays off to
should
have
be
those.
fine.
Like, say, I know you have Jonathan Taylor, and it pays off through, like, if you were to keep Sermon on your bench for the majority of the season, if you were able to pick him up, that's where players like that kind of like pay off. Like I have Josh Jacobs, and seeing that backup
Oh,
like
absolutely.
Wilson, Emmanuel Wilson come in and actually play pretty
Yeah,
well. I mean, Josh Jacobs some games
yeah, and that's
had 30 rushing attempts, which will change obviously
they're
with Jordan Love coming
clearly
back.
the Packers clearly are going to have a split backfield,
Yeah, well,
which
I mean,
is
it
not
just
good to hear.
Josh Jacobs
As
has
owner.
never scored a receiving touchdown in his career, so he's clearly more just of a running back. He'll get the goal line touches, I
Right.
would assume. Goal line touchdowns, and just more of like a workhorse sort of guy. But with Jordan Love coming back, he does sort of take a hit. But with a guy like that, and just the offense overall, especially this year, you can't not have a running game. So
Absolutely, that's how you win football games. Another one, it's kind of scary, but who is completely like, uh, I was big on him this year is Brian Robinson. He, I believe, is I don't I believe he's the top 10 running back this year for fantasy. I believe, um, but he sat out today at practice. He's dealing with a knee injury. I don't know how serious it is. Um, I know that Eckler said that he is going to come back. He's planning on coming back. I mean, I think he still has to go through a couple of the protocols, but
right.
um, if he does come back. But I mean, I don't know who in the heck this dude is, dude. Like I said, I was big on Robinson, so I have him in most of my leagues. But this dude who McNuggets, dude,
Dude,
who
I was
is
just
this
trying to
dude?
look him up. I was like, what was that guy's name? Because he came in last week. He had 2 touchdowns, and he looked damn good. Like,
Yeah, man. I know. I was watching the game and I seen that the Commanders are in red zone, so I was happy I was gonna get some points maybe. And then they hand the ball off to this. Gosh, no, what is his actual name? I feel bad just calling him McNuggets, but
yeah,
it's
I can't.
it's Mick something. But yeah, he's been in the league for a couple years. I believe he's came up the Boise State roster. But I that's a hard decision because I think if Eckler comes back, I think Eckler would probably get more touches if Brian Robinson doesn't play this week. Like I said, I don't know as of today, Wednesday. I don't know how serious that injury to Robinson is. Like I said, he didn't participate in practice today. Um, he didn't. He didn't go through walkthroughs yesterday. So, um, I mean, clearly he might be okay. He's a young guy, so that's something to pay attention to.
It's
Definitely,
McNichols.
McNichols. Yeah,
Jeremy McNichols. It might be a little
McNichols.
sleeper fella to pick up on. I mean, he looked good. I mean, Austin Eckler's a good backup to have as the Commanders. But
But the thing with McNichols, um, is Eckler's not going to be able to take the full role of the starting running back.
right,
He's just not that point. He's not that point in his career. He has done a decent amount this year, but it's because I mean Robinson's definitely clear number one.
he
He
takes the
gets
majority of the role, and
like 90% of the snaps, but
Eckler's nice coming out of the
Eckler
backfield,
takes.
like receiving wise.
And yeah, he's not bad, and I think he's more of their. They do throw him the ball a decent amount, but like I said, he's not going to be. Um, he's not going to be getting the more of the snaps.
Yeah.
So, um, and if you have Robinson, I McNichols want to be probably a bad start this week.
Yeah, a little quick flex start.
Um,
I don't disagree with that at all.
yeah, no, absolutely not. And I think they're playing the Browns. So I mean they'll probably be able to move the ball pretty well.
Yeah, I don't
And
think the Browns have a.
the Browns defense hasn't been whatever their defense is like another just mid of the pack defense, I believe, this year.
Yeah, nothing that I
They should
expected
have
them
been
to
the number
be.
one
That's for
defense.
sure.
No, absolutely not. Another one you got to make sure you look out for, and I think most people have been paying attention to, is Joe Mixon. He didn't practice today again, and it's another of those high ankle sprains.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you don't play that week, you're probably going to be out for the next couple of weeks.
This is his third week, so it would make sense. But dude, that guy,
Yeah.
I traded for him, and I mean I got rid of Ramondre, and it was I won the trade for sure, but I could have really used him these last few weeks. Ramondre also might be taking a little backseat as the Patriots' main running back because he has 4 games and 4 fumbles. Last year had some fumbling issues, so Antonio Gibson a little off track here, just going back and forth. But Antonio Gibson, not a bad waiver wire running back to pick up, considering that
Is
he
he had a fumble the last 2 weeks in a row now?
Ramondre,
Yeah.
he's 4 for 4. He's fumbled every week.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's nice, dude.
yeah,
He's gonna put up 18, huh?
yeah. He's on. It was projected 17 fumbles for the season if he keeps it up on this
Yeah,
pace.
I just don't see. If you're a Ramondre owner, I don't. I want to. I get it. I just Gibson's been playing better. I just want it right now. In my opinion, I wouldn't freak out too much about it. I think he's still the number. He's
Well,
still
yeah.
super explosive.
Yeah, well,
man, and I
he's
think
like the
he's
best player on the
number one.
Patriots, really, like offensively, talent wise. But if he fumbles
Right.
again, I mean, Gerard Mayo. I was listening to the press conference today. He can't preach ball security and job security and watch you fumble 4 or 5 times in a row each week and continue to let you have your job. So, I mean, at some point there has to be a
Absolutely.
consequence to pay. So if he fumbles again, I mean, Antonio Gibson's like value skyrockets. I think. I mean, skyrocket is a little excessive just because of the Patriots, but he will get the ball out of the backfield and being the number one guy. Ramondre had a good week 1 and 2. Like, so, I mean, he's
Yeah.
not a
And
terrible.
Antonio Gibson's not a bad running back,
No,
man.
he's had a decent
For
career.
a backup running back. He can go to most teams, and I think like he went to the Cowboys. I think it would be a good pickup for the
Yeah, if he
for the
went to the
Cowboys.
Cowboys, I think he'd be the number one.
Yeah, he probably could, and I think in a decent amount of teams. Another guy to look out for, we got Devin Singletary. I guess he didn't practice today. He's dealing with a groin injury. Um, it's considered it isn't considered to be long term. I know a lot of guys play with groin injuries a lot.
He came out of nowhere
They'll
though.
sit out a little bit. It came out of nowhere though, which is it's kind of scary. But you never. I was trying to look back on. I seen it today, and he didn't do very great in fantasy this week. And I was trying to look back on or last week I meant, and uh, I was trying to look back on when maybe he started coming out of the game, and I did this kind of. I couldn't really tell on when they stopped. Like his snap count really started to go down. So I don't know. Maybe it was bothering him last week,
Sort of,
and
yeah.
it's just starting to come out now.
Sort of lingering.
Um,
But yeah,
it's
and
just a
I mean
lingering
the
injury. But I mean,
Cowboys did well at stopping the run last week, so
yeah, it was. Yeah, it looked a lot better than it has been. Now I don't. Their rookie running back. He doesn't look horrible. I don't know his. I should probably look up these guys' names before I
that's
mention
all right.
them. We need Jamie to look him up. Hit him up.
Yeah, we
Jamie.
needed Jamie.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Where's Bush, dude? I don't know. There's just me, Mark, and I. Bush out there playing disc golf somewhere in Trappers,
Spud harvesting.
plucking spuds,
Tyrone
dude.
Tracy. Is it Tyrone Tracy Jr.?
Yeah, Tayon Tasty. He doesn't. Um, you can tell he's young. But he looks okay.
It'd be
I
good
don't know
feeling.
if he's a.
I think
I don't
there's.
know if he's like the number one guy you go after.
No.
If like how we said on the waivers.
I think there's a lot of other options.
There's a little bit better options. I bet if you're in those deeper leagues, like a 12-person league, I don't know if a 10-person league is kind of hard, but I mean it's something to pay attention to, just especially if you do have Devin Singletary. It's just make sure you're paying attention. Tank Dell. Uh, he did come back to practice today. He was limited. I think he was dealing with a chest injury, so
Well, and I don't know. I mean, Tank Dell's
I
almost
think
to
he'll
the.
be fine.
I think Tank Dell's almost to the point where you can start him in the flex, but he's almost like he's not getting as much usage as like he was last year, obviously. But that Texans offense is able to move the football. Nico Collins is clearly the number one wide receiver there. Might be the number one receiver in the league. I
Absolutely.
mean, the guy's insane. C.J. Stroud loves him. They're finding
Yeah.
usage for Diggs. They keep the running backs involved no matter who it is. So I mean, a Tank Dell, the injury. Yeah, I mean, definitely keep an eye on it if you're playing them in flex spots or something. But at some point, I do think there's players you can pick up on the waiver wire depending on what yours looks like to start over a guy like Tank
Yeah,
Dell.
it's just something to pay attention to for if you ever think down my owner. I mean, I don't know if he's a clear heads like a. I think he's a good flex option maybe for some teams, but
Yeah, and I mean, I think he'll have big
Same
games at
thing.
some point, but it's hard to predict big games. So
Absolutely. We got Trey McBride is coming off from concussion. He was limited in practice today. The head coach Jonathan Gannon told ESPN earlier Wednesday that McBride was in line to practice and added that the tight end would be coming out of the protocol for head injuries. Um, so, I mean, it's the protocol for the concussion protocol is a little iffy.
I think he should
It's
be
hard to tell.
ready to rock this week. I mean, he's practicing. He's wearing that yellow stuff, like no contact. And I mean, if he plays, you start him absolutely. I think he'll be the most consistent tight
Right.
end throughout the year. The guy's a dog, but you got to keep an eye out just in
Absolutely.
case you need to stream somebody or fill in something somewhere. So, but I do think Trey McBride will play, just considering how long it's been since he got the concussion.
Right. Another Deontay Johnson, who's been coming up big on my radar. He's expected to play this week. He's dealing with a little ankle injury. I don't think it's a high sprain or nothing. Probably just tweaked it. Um, he didn't practice today, but what it looks like is he's even though he didn't practice today, it looks like he's trending to play this week. So
Yeah.
something to pay attention to. I got David Njoku came back to practice today, which is big. Um, he could be on the waiver wire. Someone probably could have just dropped him. I think he ended up finishing tight end one
Well, I don't know
last
if he's. I
year.
can't remember. He was up there. He was. I'm pretty.
After week 14, I think, or something like that, he was tight end one, and he really didn't get to play this much this year. So if you do have him, pay attention to that because he definitely could play, and I think he could be
He could have a lot of
someone
usage in the Browns'
to
offense. They need some help.
absolutely they do. Um, George Kittle doesn't practice today again. Didn't practice today. He was dealing with an injury last week, didn't or 2 weeks ago and didn't play. I just feel like he's one of those guys. He's dealing with some kind of rib injury, and I think he'll trend. I think he looks like he's trending to play. So I would definitely pay attention to those guys. Raheem Mostert, I think, might make a return this weekend for the Dolphins, which could be a good. I don't know. I think he's more of a guy that might be a little bit better in the offense, a little bit of a slower pace.
More of a running back. They kind of need someone to push the ball as like a normal offense compared to what they're like used to. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But anyways, just done with injuries. Next subject, we're gonna do a little boomer bust action. Mark, who's your boom for the week?
you're saying like the start him, sit him sort of deal, right? Like, uh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Just so I mean, my stardom is Wandale Robinson from the Giants. I know he had an injury looking at it, but it just kind of popped up. So I do think he's going to end up playing. But Wandale Robinson, like we said earlier, top 5 in targets throughout the National Football League. Uh, like his targets are crazy. I
yeah.
mean,
Even with neighbors playing, I think you're still great to play him every single week.
yeah, and
He was coming into the league. He was a very high thought after guy. He really hasn't like lived up to most of it, and I think this year he's starting to
a bigger role.
move
And
into that position the role that he was supposed to be
yeah,
in.
I think.
He's averaging. I mean, the amount of targets he's averaging like
I mean, it goes
is a
12,
good start.
4,
I mean,
9, 12, 4, 8, 14. Like I think, and
right?
Daniel Jones looks better than than he did last year. And without Malik Neighbors, hopefully
Absolutely,
Wandale Robinson can just kind of take over most of the targets and the majority of the offense. Especially if Singletary is out and doesn't play, I think Wandale's like usage will go up also.
absolutely, absolutely. I
But
definitely agree.
my situm, I really hate to say it, and I don't have him on any team, but I don't think you play Tyreek Hill this week, just because the usage in the Dolphins offense obviously isn't there. And then the last time Tyreek Hill played against Christian Gonzalez, did not have. I think he had 3 catches for 20 yards or something like that, or 14 yards,
Right,
and can
and
like
it's going to be a little bit of
just
a
assuming
weird week.
the Patriots are like play some sort of the same defense and have Gonzo on him all game 1-on-1. I think you just stay away from Tyreek Hill. Like there's not a whole lot of usage going on in the Dolphins offense. So I think this is probably the first week, if you haven't already, like make the decision, just sit him.
Right, absolutely. I totally agree. So with my boomer bias, basically the start and sit him. I'm gonna go with Brian Thomas, the wide receiver for the Jags.
Yeah,
I
guy
think
looks solid.
like I was saying, maybe want to stay away from some Jags players, but for this week, I think they're playing the Colts. I think will be a good matchup for him. He's clearly demanding the ball. He's one of those guys. He came from LSU. He's pretty much, I would say, that wide receiver university for the last couple of years. I mean, they just have been producing extremely great wide receivers. He's had honestly a pretty decent rookie year. I mean, it's nothing spectacular, but I mean, I think he's a great flex option every single week.
Yeah,
He's starting to amp up a little bit. Last week they missed him on a couple. Trevor Lawrence missed him on a couple like key passes that would even boost up his fantasy points a little bit more. But I think this week for him playing the Colts, I think, like I said, they have something to prove. They need to win a game. He's clearly Christian Kirk had a good week last week, which was the first week that he's really done anything. But they have been struggling,
yeah. I think Brian Thomas
and
is more of the wide receiver one there than most people would like to think, especially.
absolutely, and I think he's trending in that role to be number one. And he's been with his body language. He wants the ball every
Yeah,
time,
and
which
just
is
his
good. And
abilities.
he's extremely athletic and he's extremely gifted. So he's my starter for week 5. To sit him this week. I'm gonna be probably about the same boat of Tyreek Hill. Uh, I and it's hard because you
Right, I get
have
it. It
such
is
a
Tyreek Hill, but at some point, it's like Mark Andrews double zeros back to back. What Tyreek Hill has been doing compared to what he has been, in the past, it's almost to me about the same. Like when do you decide just to
absolutely.
sit him down instead of just taking the 5 points and below and just stream somebody, start somebody else, give somebody else an option, especially when they have the tougher like defensive matchup with New England. So I mean, I think the Tyreek Hill sit him plays well going into week 5.
Or anyone that's playing PS2
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
is the dominant number one receiver. Don't play
Yeah,
him.
I think
That
he let
dude's
up
just gonna lock you
30
down.
yards through weeks like 1 through 3 or week 1 through 4 or something. Yeah, stay away from PS2.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Uh, Speaking of Tyreek Hill, man, what do you think on you go out and you trade him, or you try to get someone high for the same value
Well, what?
of as of now? I mean, I know a lot of people are probably freaking out. I mean, I'm sort of a Tyreek Hill owner. I have him in the league, and uh, I mean, it's a hard decision.
Well, I mean,
I
what I did. So I drafted Tyreek Hill at 5, and as soon as I saw Tua go down to the ground and start throwing up gang signs, I immediately was sending trades away because without Tua and another concussion on Tua's record, Tua should not play football again this year, and if he does, it won't be until late. So I think if you haven't tried to trade Tyreek Hill for somewhat of the same value, I think like now is your time. Like the sooner the better, I think, because who knows if Tua comes back or like what that situation looks like. It doesn't look like they're trying to make too many moves at the quarterback position, but that offense is dead. I don't think there's just something missing in it. So if you can trade Tyreek Hill for what his value is right now, you're gonna have to lower your standards a little bit, I do believe. But if you can go out and ship him for somebody, even like a Brian Thomas, and you throw somebody else in there to get another like decent running back, I think you do that also. Uh, Brian Thomas might not. I mean, but if you could trade Tyreek Hill for Mike Evans or Tyreek Hill for Chris Godwin, I don't even think Tyreek Hill's worth is that right now. But if you can find somebody to do it, I think you do it.
That's the hard part too. Is when do they is that it came out when Tua does come back.
Uh, I
Um,
don't think so.
I think that there's just so much in the air. I mean, anytime you're making a trade, man, it can be
Yeah,
sketchy
you got to take
business.
everything into consideration. Don't get me wrong, but I think if you haven't sold them already, and especially it depends on what your team looks like. If you have room on your bench to sit on them and hold on them, if you're 4-0, then do that. But if you're, I mean, I'm 2-2 in the league that I had them, and like I immediately shipped him out, and the players have helped me. Like I'm 2-2, but the players that I have now will help me more in the future than what Tyreek Hill has been doing. So
Absolutely.
I think there's a
Let's
time
go
to
to our
say
next
goodbye.
subject here, which we're pretty much kind of on. Players to maybe go after and trade for. Say you're one of the teams that have had a slow start. You're 1-3, 0-4. Uh, who's a guy that here's a guy.
Now here's a guy.
Uh, Now here's a guy that maybe just might key on and go
It's
after.
sort of like the
Um,
sell high and low sort of deal right now. I don't. I mean, it is kind of tough. I think you sell Garrett Wilson where he's at right now. I think you try to trade to him for his value at the moment. People are probably way down on him, but not the same as Tyreek Hill because there is an upside to Garrett Wilson, which can kind of help you in a trade. But I do think Garrett Wilson's kind of a sell now, sell high kind of player.
right. That makes sense. Yeah, if I'm a team struggling, um, I mean, it all depends too. Yeah, if you mean you running backs or you're struggling for tight ends or you're struggling. I mean, everyone's probably struggling for tight
Right,
ends. Wouldn't worry about that.
right.
But
Just more of your skill player
struggling
look.
for what wide receivers. I think a good guy that maybe consider would be Chuba Hubbard. Now, I know that Brooks is going to come back, but clearly you can't. I just don't see them. I just don't see them just putting Brooks in and then Hubbard not getting the ball
Right.
like he has been.
If it ain't broke,
I
don't
mean,
fix it
he's
sort of
clearly
mentality.
pretty much, and I think maybe the Chuba Hubbard owners out there are maybe paying attention enough that they know Brooks is going to come back, and they might be a little bit worried. I just don't think that, especially maybe for, um, at least for the next until they're bye and they have their week 11 bye. I I just don't think that Chuba Hubbard is not going to do what he's been doing. I mean, he's absolutely destroying
Yeah, he's
with
been.
fantasy within the last 2 weeks. I mean, he's finished running back 4-7. He's got 21 attempts and 18 attempts. I mean,
Yeah, that kind of
this
volume is
is
pretty wild. And
and he's got the last 3 weeks in a row now. He's averaged at least 4 targets out of the backfield, receiving wise,
yeah,
which a running back, man.
yeah. So if you can go and trade a guy like Chuba Hubbard for, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for, more like wide receiver or running back wise. But I mean, clearly Kyron Williams is probably a little too high there. But like I think if you could get a Chuba Hubbard for James Conner, considering if James Conner stays healthy, I mean James Conner's putting up numbers. He's clearly gonna stay like the running back, like one in Arizona. Like he's James.
Absolutely.
Like I think it just kind of also depends on preference, But I don't think Chuba Hubbard keeps up the same like tempo and numbers producing, especially with Brooks coming back. So I do agree with that. And then I mean,
Absolutely,
sell
man.
now probably almost anybody on the Dolphins. A chain. You probably can't get a whole lot for Waddle, but A chain if you can get some solid dogs from somebody else, especially with Mostert coming back. I think now you try to sell A chain just for the talent that you can receive for him. And I mean, the more weeks that go by and the less the Dolphins put up
From the
are going
game
to hurt
right
you.
now. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's just been a weird year. And it's gonna be it's been a weird year, but I think it's the time of the year that the bye week's starting to kick in, and like we said earlier, everyone's played a little bit more, so you get more game film on everyone, and uh, yeah, it's
Fantasy's tough every year. I mean, nothing always goes your way, especially if you're injury bugged right now or something, or injury bugged and 0-4. There's always players you can pick up off waiver wire. There's little things you can look up with matchups. I mean, just scrolling on an ESPN app will help you a ton, just percentage wise and numbers
absolutely.
wise. They're just don't give up. Don't give up. You just gotta
You don't
squeak
you
into the
don't
playoffs, and you can win yourself a championship. That's all that matters. Fantasy is
absolutely.
such hit and
Um, so yeah, for the last topic here, I know we didn't really cover it with our notes and stuff, but um, what is your thoughts on the Thursday night game this week, and then just look at one of the some games that you're looking forward to this weekend.
Thursday night.
Um,
I think hopefully it's a shootout. I'm not expecting a shootout because you never know what happens. But if I had to pick one, I would assume both teams are gonna be able to move the ball through the air. Uh, the Falcons are looking to get something clicking, like officially. Like last week, I think at the end of the game they had some poor play calling. I mean, 3 shots to Darnell Mooney when you're sitting at a 58-yard field goal to win the game. When you could have just maybe ran the ball, done a quick out, done something to get the ball a little bit closer instead of shooting the ball down the field. So I think the Falcons have a little adjustments to be made. I am curious of the New England and Dolphins game. I am biased towards New England, but if there is a week that the Dolphins can't get something going, I'm always curious to see what that's going to look like. The Jaguars, if Evan Ingram comes back, I'm going to be paying attention to that quite often. Baltimore playing Cincy, that's always a good divisional matchup, and Cincy doesn't have the best defense,
Absolutely.
so hopefully the Ravens can find something through the air, maybe get Mark Andrews more involved and a Zay Flowers sort of guy. But other than that,
Absolutely.
everything can
Yeah.
go.
No, I totally agree. I think for Thursday night, definitely. I think um, I've been more biased on Darnell Mooney this year. I don't know why, but he's one of those guys that when I'm looking at wide receivers on the waiver wires and whatnot, he's getting he's getting at least like 8 targets a game. He's got a good quarterback. Their offense is more of a mid offense, but I think Darnell Mooney is a great guy that you could stream probably week to week, and I think he'll give you
Yeah,
points.
I think he's always a good flex
As
fit.
like a low wide receiver 3. I don't know if he's definitely not in the wide receiver 2 talks right now. Another guy that I don't think people should worry about. I think Drake London. I think he's starting to um, go in the right way. He's starting to get more targets, and I'm happy because I was big on him coming in the year because I think he's one of the most talented wide receivers,
Yeah.
athletically, and gifted wide
It just takes
receivers
for
for
that
sure.
Falcons offense to get clicking, honestly. They can be really dangerous with all the weapons, and Kirk at quarterback I really like. So I agree. Just kind of,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's hard to say weight on it, but it is only week 5, so there's a lot more that can happen, and there'll be big games and there'll be shit games too. So bear in for both of them.
Yep. He hasn't played a whole year, and new offense, new city. I mean, it's a lot. I get it. He's Kirk Cousins, but he'll be fine. A game I think I'm looking forward to would be I think I like the Bills and the Texans. I
Yeah,
think that should be a
that's
good
a good
game.
game.
We got the Texans at home. Um, the Bills just play good football, and they've been playing good football. I mean, I know that they kind of got shut down from the Ravens, but the Ravens just played great football, and they got behind real fast. It's hard. It's hard in the NFL, man. When you get down
Right,
that fast,
and
your whole playbook just goes out the window, and you're trying to figure things out. And they were just getting shut down the whole time.
the
Another good
Ravens
game, like you said.
Ravens are the best 2-2 team to ever exist. Just the way they can run the football, and the Bills can't really defend the run a whole lot. So
Absolutely. Uh, I think the Ravens will be in the AFC Championship.
I think so too. Yeah,
Um, I know they started 0-2, and I just didn't. It didn't make sense. In my opinion, they were the best team in football last year. They
it's just the playoffs. Like,
it
can you get it
just
done in the
any
playoffs?
given Sunday, man. Can you get it done? I think even though they didn't make the Super Bowl, I think they're still the best team
Yeah,
in the league. I think they were better than the Chiefs. The
it's just
Chiefs,
you don't want to see Mahomes in the
the
playoffs
Chiefs are like the Chiefs are just kind of like the Yankees in October, man.
or
It's hard to
or the Patriots when we used to be
hard to
good.
beat them. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I mean, um, the Bengals and the Ravens game should be a good game. I mean, I think there'll be some decent games this week. Everything looks like there's some decent matchups. Everyone's kind of matching up great. I think the Raiders, the Broncos game will be a good divisional game. I think that'll be a tough game. I think it won't be a very high scoring game. Um, but I think that'll be a good game to watch. And you got the Cardinals and the Niners, so another divisional game. There's some pretty good divisional games this week to definitely pay attention to. A divisional game is always just fun to watch because
Just
it's a lot more competitive.
yeah, just the hatred
They
of
play a
teams.
little bit harder.
And
Yeah, and they know everything. I mean, you got the Colts and the Jags. Um, like I said, I think the Jags come out with that one for sure. They have a lot to prove. They're playing at home. Um,
injured Colts team.
and the Colts. the injured Colts team. Yeah. So I mean, that one. I don't know if it's going to be a complete shootout. I think it'll just be a mid game for the week. But yeah,
Looking like a good
those are the
fantasy
ones I'm
week, I'll
definitely.
tell you, by looking at these matchups,
Hopefully, it looks like a good fantasy week if
expecting a lot.
you're not struck by the bye week and injury prone,
Well, I'm making up
which a
for it. I
lot of
got a
people
bye
are.
week. I got Amon sitting, J.K. Dobbins sitting, Jalen Hurts sitting, and me and you play each other in that league. So tune back in to see how that turns out. I mean, other
Absolutely.
than that,
But yeah, let's wrap it up. Thanks for listening and tune in next week for the recap and see what if we were to
yeah, some recap, some waiver wire pickups.
where does the
Let us know if whatever we
absolutely.
say is useless or helped you or did not help you at all. So any feedback is good
But yeah,
feedback. Uh,
absolutely.
Thanks again,
But
and Porch Beers.
Porch beers out, son.
Thank you for listening to the Porch Beer Sports Podcast. Follow and subscribe for weekly content.